I stayed in on Friday night to watch the first 2 episodes of The End of an Era, and I was not ready for how emotional it was gonna be right off the bat. Like, I definitely thought they were gonna build to some really emotional things, but it started immediately, and I was crying within the first 10 minutes. For me, there were 5 very specific moments that absolutely wrecked me to my core, and we need to talk about them immediately. So let's go ahead and do a little debrief together, because are you okay? I don't know if I'm okay. Are you okay? And if you're new here, hi, I'm Erin. I talk about pop culture that makes me feel things from a humorous and heartfelt perspective. So if that's something that you vibe with, go ahead and hit subscribe so we could be friends. Now let's get into it. The End of an Era docuseries, episodes 1 and 2, the moments that made me so freaking emotional. The first moment that wrecked me was the final night huddle speech. First of all, we know our Queen Taylor is just so articulate and so skilled with words that this entire speech felt like it could be a song from Folklore or Evermore or Tortured Poets anthology. It made me so emotional when she was like, I think back to the moment where you decided that dancing was your calling is just like such a powerful thing to say, and then how she says that she envisions all of her dancers as mentors and how like time goes on forward and people are looking up to them and what they're going to tell their families, because this was something that was so historic, and to be a part of it, she mentioned that this was the best of the best. So it was really beautiful to see her take on that perspective, and I got choked up. I could tell she was getting choked up. Everyone in the huddle was getting choked up. It is absolutely crazy that they documented that moment, and I'm so glad that they did, because I was just so locked in from the get-go. The next thing that had me really choked up in my feelings was when they addressed the Vienna shows and they talked about the Taylor Swift dance party victims, which is something that we in the fandom have talked about a lot, but now finally getting to see it from Taylor's perspective. And when she was talking about like piloting a plane and how the show keeps going, and that's show business, baby, but you can see that she is just like so internally wrecked. Does such a good job of humanizing her, right? Because we all have her on this pedestal and she's such a mega tour de force and we look up to her so much, and we all forget, and Ed Sheeran even mentioned this in one of the episodes, is that like people forget that she's human, and I think this was just such a beautiful example of showing her humanity. And she is such a sensitive soul. She is very emotional. When we see her in the orange blazer and she's walking down the hall with her mom, and her mom is crying and she's crying, and then she sits down in the dressing room and she starts crying even more, just absolutely wrecked me. I cannot believe that they had all of the meetings with the families of the victims before a 3-hour show. Like, I cannot even imagine that part of Taylor Swift's job. I mean, it's just so wild to think about. You have to really be able to compartmentalize and deal with your emotions before something. Be on for 3.5 hours, and then you can decompress and deal with your emotions after. So I'm glad she had some time before the show to process and feel those things. But thinking about both of those situations is just really intense. I'm so glad they were able to prevent something horrible in Vienna, and that people were grieving concerts instead of people. The other situation was incredibly devastating too, so I just want to give a big hug to the Swiftie community and to Taylor Swift for letting us in on those really vulnerable moments, because it was inspiring and it was very deeply heartfelt. The next emotional moment is when she started to give out all of the bonuses to the cast and crew. Now this part is definitely getting some heat and backlash on social media, and I hate the internet sometimes because of this. There's so much criticism for this part, but like Taylor said, she's setting a precedent, and I'm so glad that they broadcast this, because it's gonna inspire so many other companies and so many other leaders to do the same thing. I'm obsessed with the fact that she used wax seals. This girl is such an old soul, and it makes me want to start using wax seals too, even though I'm definitely not that crafty. And just seeing the dancers' reactions and, you know, seeing how excited Taylor was to do that, it's just very heartwarming, and just that amount of money and that amount of a bonus is just completely life-changing, and everyone was just working so hard for such a long time. So I'm very glad we got to be let in on that moment. And then it definitely segued into Cam, and Cam talking about his body and in terms of his dance career, and I really deeply resonated with this. I feel like the dance industry is so brutal, and they're so narrow-minded sometimes when it comes to different bodies or diversity or things like that. And I'm just so glad that Cam just kept on going and pursuing his dreams, because he's so unbelievably talented. He's definitely my favorite dancer of the Eras Tour. Such great energy, such great personality. I loved all of his bits and moments. He really was such an integral part of the Eras Tour journey, and I'm really thankful that he let us in on that little story and moment with his mom as well. So Just want to say, we love you, Cam. Keep doing you. We totally support you. You're a legend and an icon. The next moment that gave me all the feels is when we got a behind the scenes look at Florida. Now, Florida is one of my favorite songs on the Tortured Poets department. Definitely my favorite on the first album. I'm a huge Florence fan. Their star power together just does something to me. I think it's an incredible track, and I get really emotional when I hear it just regularly. And I would have lost my damn mind if I was able to see Florida live with Florence and the Machine. I think the production was so gorgeous, but seeing all the behind the scenes with the dancing, hearing Florence sing live in the rehearsals just totally gave me chills. There's something about the beat of the music, the lyrics, the storytelling that just really moves me. And so while this wasn't the same level of emotion as, say, talking about the Vienna shows, this definitely evoked feelings in me in a way that just gives tingles on my arms. I just love this song so much, and I'm so glad that this documentary was giving this song a moment because I feel like it's been very overlooked. And side note, I'm obsessed with the fact that Taylor doesn't use 8 counts, that she is so musically and lyrically inclined that she just goes to the beat. I love that we got to learn that as well. And although I could probably go on for days, the last moment that was really emotional for me was when Taylor is talking and we get this like B-roll footage from the concert and this nice little montage. And she says the Eras Tour, and I'm paraphrasing here, but she says the Eras Tour is so much more than just joy, because that's what everyone thinks it is. Everyone thinks like, oh, it's this joy, it's this escape. But she says, no, it's actually a full range and spectrum of emotion. And that's something that is really powerful. And I couldn't agree more. It is a complete, varied, versatile, emotional journey for those 3 hours of all kinds of ups and downs, all kinds of highs and lows. It makes you tap into your own humanity, your own spectrum of emotion, and it makes you realize your own inner power from that. Everyone just assumes that pop shows are always just fun and kind of frivolous, but the Eras Tour was deep, okay? Having Taylor talk about that full range of emotion was really validating to someone like me who feels emotion really deeply. So that whole speech definitely brought a tear to my eye. And then how it just ended with the confetti on the floor and a friendship bracelet that said Swiftie. Ugh. I think this docuseries is already so well done. I'm so excited to see where it goes. I definitely want to learn more about like the logistics, specifically the outfits. I cannot wait. It looks like there might be one episode where they definitely feature a lot of the outfits and things like that. So I'm very excited and I can't wait. So those were the 5 biggest gut punch moments for me. And if you watched the end of an era, what moment hit you the hardest? Please let me know in the comments because I'd love to talk to you about this. And I can't wait to debrief with you again. I hope you felt a nice little release from crying and that you're ready for the week. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, hit that bell, and thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next video. Bye.